I'm so worried because I'm the one that gave it the highest rating.
You did?
And it's like
did?
my job to defend this movie. And I'm like why?
Just give it a lower rating.
Yeah, maybe I'll do that right now. Hey, live on air, Wilson is docking the rating for Die My Love from 4 stars
His love died.
to
This is
3
bad practice.
to 3.5.
Oh,
And
okay.
this
Still so high.
and and it is done.
Wait, Ben, what did you give it?
3.
Oh, I did too. All right.
I'm still the highest. 3.5. Whatever. I was peer pressured on mic to
Wow.
lower this rating.
Nobody did that.
I peer pressured myself into lowering this rating.
Anticipatory obedience.
Yeah, this is thrilling podcast work right here. I'm Wilson Lai.
I'm Benjamin Yap.
I'm Eli Sands.
You're listening to Deep Cut.
On Deep Cut, we compare a director's most popular film with a personal favorite chosen by one of us.
We also discuss that director's life in Korea to bring in context that helps us view their movies as they may want us to.
If you're enjoying the show, please rate and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts to help others discover the show. Better still, you can leave a review on Apple Podcasts or comment on episodes directly on Spotify. If you want to reach out to us and maybe we can read your email on air, you can send us an email at hello@deepcutpod.com. You can also find us at deepcutpod.com to find links to our socials, Discord, and Patreon.
Welcome to our conversation on Lynne Ramsay's 5th non-documentary fictional feature film, Die My Love, from this year, starring Jennifer Lawrence and Robert Pattinson and Sissy Spacek and
Lakeith Stanfield.
Keith Stanfield.
Lakeith Stanfield. Like
Wow.
fleetingly.
Yeah.
Before we begin our discussion on Die My Love, please be warned that we'll be going in depth and this will be a spoiler-filled discussion. If you don't mind the spoilers, feel free to listen on. If you're looking for a more proper background on Lynne Ramsay as a director and as a person, you can listen to episode 22 about You Were Never Really Here and episode 23 about We Need to Talk About Kevin. In Die My Love, Grace, played by Jennifer Lawrence, is a struggling writer, wife, and new mom whose husband, Jackson, moves them from the city to a rural farmhouse. As Grace struggles with isolation, postpartum depression, and aimlessness, her behavior grows increasingly odd, and the style of the film, in classic Ramsay fashion, grows increasingly impressionistic. It's an adaptation of Ariana Harwich's 2012 novel Die My Love, or in Spanish, Mátate. How are we feeling about this one, given its 3 to 3.5 star ratings on Letterboxd?
I will say, I can't believe it's taken her 8 years to make another narrative feature. Like, I was wondering why it took her so long. Like, what's been going on in the last 8 years for Miss Ramsay? Like, I'm confused.
She is perennially attached to projects that don't pan out. I remember there was, in that 8 years, there was going to be a movie that she made with Julianne Moore about 2 women on a ship in the Arctic. There was going to be her Space Moby Dick, which I know is like a big passion project of hers that hasn't yet panned out. So she gets attached to a lot of things that don't come through. And the story behind this one is that Martin Scorsese sends the Ariana Harwich novel to Jennifer Lawrence and her co-producer Justine Chiarocci at their production company, Excellent Cadaver. Jennifer Lawrence reads it, really wants to make it, and pursues Lynne Ramsay as director for this project specifically. Ramsay offers her another project that she wants to make. Jennifer Lawrence says, no, let's make Die My Love. And Ramsay says, okay. So they work on this movie together. And that's the rough trajectory of how Ramsay finally does make her fifth feature film 8 years after the last one. But I think there are some catches to that process that maybe intersect with our thoughts on the movie.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts, Wilson?
I think I saw this first out of all of us, right? This played at M+, which I guess we've had a ongoing relationship with. Like, I can't say that actually, but they won't listen to this, so it's fucking fine.
We've had a fling with them.
Yeah, we've had a fling, an on and off, undefined. We did not DTR with the folks at M+. But
we haven't had the what are we talk yet with M+.
Yes.
No, we haven't. It's not.
They're like, do not mention that we have a relationship with you because that means that there's money involved. And there's no money. I will say it out loud right now. I don't have money coming in from M+.
We are John Cusack standing outside the window of M+, holding up the boombox, but it's playing an episode of Deep Cut.
Does not say we don't want that.
Oh, I'd very much want that. I love M+. And actually, Eli's been to M+. Physically has been in that building.
I liked it as much as they're willing to partner with us.
Yes.
Whoa.
Okay, well, that's too much about M+, but I did see it there. And I really liked it. And I found it to be really weird and like off-putting. And I was like, okay, this is classic Lynne Ramsay stuff. I am a massive Hunger Games fan.
I didn't know this.
I don't think I knew that either.
Yes.
We're doing the Bruce salute, by the way.
I was consuming a lot of YA novels, and I would say that The Hunger Games was probably like the top of that for me. So I feel like I've been very much banking on Jennifer Lawrence's success, even during the period where she left the spotlight and went and had her baby and like sort of like was a normal person for a little bit. And I think this is sort of like the first step in her reemergence as like a great actress. And I know this sort of relationship that she has with Marty Scorsese is going to continue because she is going to be in his next movie. This is part of the renaissance of Jennifer Lawrence, and Rob P is just here hanging out, having a good time. Well, actually having a bad time in the movie, but probably having a good time shooting the movie. And like, I sort of see it as sort of like part of this thing, but I guess that doesn't really like talk about the quality of the movie, but Lynne Ramsay is doing Lynne Ramsay here. I think it is very much up. You can see this as a part of her filmography. I don't know how effective it is. I think there are some aspects of this that really work for me. I do really like the Sissy Spacek stuff. I think she is so powerful in this, and that shot of her in that Day for Night just like walking through a field with a shotgun in her hand is so effective to me, and like one of the images that has like seared itself into my brain after watching this. But I think the more time that I've had from the movie, I think the less sort of impactful it is on me. And if I look back on 2025 and the movies that came out this year, and you could say that it was maybe not a great year for movies. It was like an okay year for movies. I still don't think that Die My Love will sit itself around the top, unfortunately.
What about you, Ben?
I'm just thinking about you talking about how Lawrence pitched a project to a director. And like, I'm thinking about how this plays into like the playbook of say like an Emma Stone or a Margot Robbie. And it's like interesting.
Actress, producer, kind of powerhouses.
Yeah, like this is a whole thing right now.
It is.
I guess mostly white women doing this, but it's still.
Yeah.
But like in a way, taking the reign on these products that they then star in. And honestly, from a business perspective, it's a great pole position to play from because like you stand to gain so much, both as the actress on this thing as well as the producer on the thing as well. You get to gain twice.
And just as a public figure too, the way the project plays into her public persona.
And I do think this comes into play when you're talking about award season as well. And that is, I think, is why a lot of the last few races have been so heated in the Best Actress category because there's so much push from these actresses / producers now to really make stories, films centered around these female characters. And they are allowed to really give a good, meaty performance for Academies to sort of dig into and
totally
duke it out, which is great, honestly.
But I do like this direction. If this is the kind of playbook that she's following, that a lot of these other actors, producers have been doing. Because, like, at least this shows you the kind of films that Jennifer Lawrence is interested in.
And the kinds of directors.
Yeah, that's really interesting to me because, like,
yes.
Well, if you look at, like, what Emma Stone and, like, Margot Robbie are doing, they're, like, courting much bigger blockbuster style things. I mean, Emma Stone is dipping into the art house world, but she's kind of pulling the art house into the mainstream. Well, that's what she's trying to do, which is having an effect on the, not say quality necessarily, but like the tone of these things, right? They are kind of getting a bit scraped down. Their edges are smoothed away. But obviously with this, I would say this is something quite scrappy. This is very indie in feeling. Even as I'm looking at like Jennifer Lawrence and Robert Pattinson, like it feels very scrappy. The making of this thing, it feels like a Ramsay movie in a lot of ways, in the way that it feels. Yeah, I think a lot of it for me is like, I'll look at a scene and think about the scene being like, oh, this is a good scene in a movie. But then I'll look at the whole movie as a bunch of, oh, these are good scenes in a movie. But then I don't know what the movie is.
Entirely agreed.
I know what the movie is. Like, yes, I get that it is a sort of portrait of a woman going through a very intense postpartum depression, nearing psychosis, I would say. And knowing that it's adapted from a novel that is obviously going to give you much better interior access into a character's head, going through something like that, the way that she processes the world, that is something that with the film medium, like, that is very different. And she doesn't use any voiceover in this, which means that she's trying to bank on pure visual and sonic, like the diegetic stuff that you can see and stuff that you can hear for you to understand what is going through this woman's mind. And I think because it's pretty out there, this is a very intense kind of like raw thing, that performance that Lawrence is putting in, that like, it is quite difficult to understand who this person is and like what are those thoughts specifically, which I can imagine the novel being better at expressing. So there's a question of like, how successful is this really in trying to succeed at adaptation, and then also like, oh, whether it works. And I don't really know what this movie is in this like postpartum depression canon, besides being like almost a scream into the void.
That kind of unlocks something for me that, one, I agree that the film is not the sum of its parts. Two, it is very much so, first and foremost, a vehicle for Jennifer Lawrence. Not in a bad way. Mm-hmm. It's a great performance.
Yeah.
It's something that I've seen before from this type of genre, which I'll explain in a moment as this sort of term that's been dubbed mommy horror, and from Ramsay too. I think that her being picked for her existing work, pitching something potentially more novel, and being told, no, actually, I want what you've done before, almost in a gun for hire kind of way, or like the way that some workaday directors are picked. No slander there. It's not a self-originated project, and it's chosen for her existing style rather than a space where she can iterate on her own style. And it's sort of like Lynne Ramsay's best hits in a lot of specific technical ways. So it's missing some surprise. It's missing some specific detail. It is a platform for everyone involved to do good scene-by-scene work. In that vein of this being a well-trodden kind of maternal madness picture, you would think that Ramsay's tools would be really good at implying a lot of depth to the Grace character with all the specificity and sort of behavioral intrigue that Lawrence herself can bring to the role. You would think that this would be a really fleshed out character. But because this is sort of a scene-by-scene siloed rather than whole picture effort, weirdly, this movie winds up reducing Grace as a character for me to nothing more than a mother who's going mad, which kind of feels counterproductive to the whole purpose of mommy horror. or the project in arguing women should be allowed to be more than just mothers.
Yeah. I feel like I would push back against sort of Ramsay's decision to sort of contain the film to start after they had moved. So Jennifer Lawrence's character is already going through these changes, and we don't really see a prior Grace where she was writing, like enjoying her social life in New York City and like falling in love with Jackson. Falling in love with Jackson. Wow, you can tell that I really like this movie.
More than us.
But I think having that contrast, right? Like being able to see that contrast would actually be really helpful and would flesh out her character a lot more.
Yeah.
Rather than sort of like seeing her at the start of the descent and then just like fully plunging into it and getting no reprieve by the end. And it just really, I think the narrative range of it was a little lacking and maybe could have helped with us understanding the character more. But I do think there's still that rawness in the filmmaking that Ramsay brings. I think that's sort of what worked for me. And I think the scene by scene stuff was great. And I think I was just kept within that mood for the whole runtime. And that's why I sort of like got out of it and being like, oh, wow, I was like so uncomfortable watching that. That means it was an effective Lynne Ramsay movie, right?
Yeah.
Like it works as the other ones work. But I think about sort of like the emotions I feel when out of the 2 episodes we've talked about Ramsay prior to this, you could really draw comparisons with We Need to Talk About Kevin, right? Because there is some sort of like upset with the situation that she's in and wants to like sort of get out but can't get out ness of Tilda Swinton's character in We Need to Talk About Kevin.
And you see that character go through change where to your point, Wilson, we're not seeing Grace really go through change. It's kind of constant.
Yes.
Like she's kind of stuck in this moment of time the whole movie.
Mm-hmm. And maybe that's intentional. Like, I'm sure it's intentional.
But I think for me, it's like, there are a lot of movies like this kind of character study types, which is like, I'm just going to tell you what this character is like for the whole movie. But I still think that regardless of what your movie is, and I think sometimes like there's the movie that we think it could be, and so we imagine the arcs that they have. And I'm just wondering, what is the arc that this movie can have? Or what is the arc that the movie does have? And I don't really think the movie has much of an arc because we're kind of like, she's like frozen in amber for the whole movie. She is having this episode and it's just happening over a long period of time. And even if it was just this, like I think there isn't even an arc within her episode. She is kind of just in one space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like there isn't even, I would say, an intensifying of the psychosis or like the crazy because she begins in a way quite already on the way there. And because I think, interestingly, because of the way that Ramsay directs and the way that she edits, she likes to put everything together as if everything is happening at the same time. Except here, actually, it is a very linear story. It is linear, and yet the emotion is always the same, right? It's always this like heightened discomfort, and like she's always just like on the edge. And in a way, she never really crosses the edge really for me either, and she doesn't really pull away from it. So she's always just on the edge the whole way, which means that we don't even go on the journey with her towards or past the edge. We're just there on the edge.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. There's a lack of dynamics. It's kind of stagnant. Nothing really happens in a way that, is of course, if you've listened to any of our podcasts, we're okay with things taking their time and not much changing. I like that phrasing, Ben. It's on the edge, but it doesn't really go one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
There was a moment in which like I was excited about where the movie was going to go. And that was when the wedding was happening.
Yeah, same.
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought it was a flashback.
Same. I thought so too.
And I got so confused when I realized that it was not a flashback. Because I was like, I thought we were going to explain what and how we got here in a non-linear way in which like this will make more sense for me.
Yeah.
This is a weirdly linear Lynne Ramsay.
Yeah, and I was like, that wasn't a flashback. They got married after they had the baby. And I was so confused by that choice. And I was like, okay, then we're just hearing it. And then I didn't understand the reasoning that Grace then has to check herself into the mental hospital. Because nothing she does at the wedding was so crazy that like I felt like she needed to do that.
There are some jumps in the narrative, even though it follows a chronological order. There are jumps in the narrative where I'm like, oh, you have to sort of reorient yourself in a way that maybe they're sort of like jumping back in time, but actually no, they're not. You just have to like, there's like gaps there in the storytelling that you really need to fill in. And I think the Ramsays that I've seen that have been telling stuff in chronological order, I'm thinking sort of You Were Never Really Here is told chronologically, maybe yes, for the Morven Kalar, right?
Ratcatcher. Well, okay, yeah, actually, the 4 of her 5 are chronological.
But those two, I haven't seen Ratcatcher, so I will have to watch it.
You Were Never Really Here has non-chronological flashbacks.
Flashbacks, right? Brief moments, but majority of the film is like in chronological order. And Morven Kalar and You Were Never Really Here take place over a very limited time period as well. And that goes back to narrative range, right? There's sort of like a propulsiveness to telling a story over like one night or 2 nights or this limited time period where something has to be done or something just happened in the case of Morven Kalar that sort of needs to be dealt with. And then in speaking specifically about Morven Kalar, you have a character that doesn't really change that much, but it's just the situation that she's being put in that sort of like shows sort of the different sides to this one character that is not really changing, but this sort of extreme circumstance gets a closer look at her. But I think with this extended time period that we're seeing Jennifer Lawrence's character, it sort of falls with a thud rather than sort of like rises and sings like Morven Kalar. And I feel like I want to bring up these other movies because if you are coming to this episode right now and you are, I guess, like me, a fan of J-Law, a fan of Rob P, and as not a fan of Lynne Ramsay, I want to sort of use this as sort of ad space to be like, yes, her other films are actually really, really good. And you should watch them if you enjoyed parts or bits or the vibe, the tone of this film.
Well, you're wondering why Lawrence picked Ramsay for this gig. Because those other pieces tell you why this was the right choice in a weird way. Because, like, I don't know anything about this novel except for the title as well as the synopsis. And I'm like, yeah, Ramsay, that tracks. Like, that makes sense. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I have to imagine that, one, it plays into that actress-producer Oscars play narrative. Or maybe not. That's a little cynical. The actress-producer platform of making projects for oneself that are fulfilling and meaty, to borrow Wilson's, I think, apt adjective. And 2, it has to have something to do with Ramsay's past experience with actors, that her 2 prior projects were those deep dive into character subjectivity movies that did, at least in Joaquin Phoenix's experience, sort of jumpstart a new phase of his career. Tilda, she's always sort of had it going on. But there's no Joker without You Were Never Really Here, I believe.
Of course. Yeah.
Because Joker is basically pulling a lot of things from You Were Never Really Here. So I have to imagine it's what Lawrence sees her doing with actors, what Lawrence sees her doing kind of rhythmically with like film texture. It's because of what she already does. And Lawrence, I don't think, comes to this project imagining what could Ramsay do next. And that's sort of what I'm interested in. Like, what could Ramsay do from here to iterate rather than repeat?
Mm-hmm. And you know what? You say Jennifer Lawrence is not interested in what Ramsay is doing next. I sort of agree, but I also think that Ramsay is probably thinking about what she wants to do next, considering the fact that she pitched something that sort of got shot down and agreed to do the project that Jennifer Lawrence is doing. I think hopefully this is Ramsay using this as a stepping stone in order to get another project financed quicker, or I don't know, move on to something that she can really put her like heart and soul into. Because I feel like when you're going from that trajectory from Morven Kalar to We Need to Talk About Kevin, which are really like, I guess, character dramas about these women, and then you veers into action territory, but still doing deep character study and like playing with genre, and then going back to sort of domestic drama with J-Law. Like, I feel like the jumping off point from You Were Never Really Here could have been something as playful or as out there as that film was. And I think there is a desire within Ramsay to go there again, or go somewhere like that again. And I'm just wishing that it can happen sooner rather than later, because the 2017 to 2025 gap, I felt that. I was there the year You Were Never Really Here came out. We were all into that movie, like when that came out. I've aged.
I think she's a director who is beholden to the actors who sign on to her projects. And I think in this case, because Jennifer Lawrence is an actress producer who is jumpstarting a career renaissance, it makes sense that Lawrence wanted control over what that final product would be. It just means that it, I think, hampered what Ramsay could do new. As an example of what she's sort of repeating from her prior style, think of that moment we talked about in episode 22 on You Were Never Really Here, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, subtle drop of our previous catalog, in which Joaquin Phoenix's character has his first big sustained moment of extended brutal violence. He's going into the townhouse where the sex ring operation is happening. And in order to emotionally push you away from that violence, to get you into an intellectual headspace reflecting on that violence, Ramsay goes to the security cameras in the townhouse, shows you Joe walking through and attacking people with his hammer. And the cut really draws attention to itself by this disjointed, repeating, stuttering edit of Angel Baby, the song, that's sort of playing diegetically in the scene. So you're cutting from security camera angle to security camera angle, having this song sort of pushing you out of temporal continuity so that you're really thinking about the violence that you're seeing. It's this novel technique that she's doing with the sound edit. It's this really weird camera angle that she's doing. And it has this purpose of getting you to think about violence on screen, which is what this whole movie is sort of, as we discussed, working with thematically. In Die, My Love, there's a scene in which Lawrence is dancing to herself to the song Hey Mickey. Side note, really funny. I started laughing because Mickey 17, and it's Robert Pattinson.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Mickey 17.
And Ramsay does this thing with the song edit again, where as she's cutting from Lawrence dancing to sort of Lawrence slumped over the table to Lawrence at the fridge, it disjoints the song again to draw attention to the time elided in the cut. So it's this technique repeated from You Were Never Really Here, but without that same, in my opinion, thematic purpose behind the formal choice. It's like kind of a reheating of this technique from You Were Never Really Here that was really innovative and purposeful when she did it there. And here just feels kind of like texture.
Yeah. It's okay. I'll let you reheat your own nachos, Lynne Ramsay.
I think about how so much of the film is really good for a trailer.
Yeah.
And the trailer bangs as
Yeah.
well. It does. It does.
And I'm like, that's, I think, a bit of a knock on the film, because partially it's almost like it doesn't matter if the film doesn't work, which feeds into a cynicism I've been having about recent films, which is that no one really cares if the movie is good or not. We only care if the movie seems to be good, and then that can begin a conversation, because there's a lot of stuff in here that can begin a conversation.
Yes.
I think talking about mommy horror, postpartum depression, even the conversations about like sex scenes in this movie, like I've been seeing the soundbite of like Jennifer Lawrence being like, I'm okay with nudity. I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. Interesting soundbite because you're naked in this movie a bit.
You know, her filming while she was pregnant. Like, these are sort of starting points.
Yeah, like they're good conversation pieces, but it allows you to have a marketing conversation. But then when it comes to like talking about the movie itself, that's not relevant or important to anyone making the movie, which is a bit of a cynicism in terms of like how I'm feeling. Like a lot of movies now, it's just like, as long as the package looks nice and I get your ass into the theater, I'm done.
This is the Zack Snyder thing, right? If it looks and sounds impactful, it must have something substantial to say.
Yeah.
That's maybe very gauche of me to compare this movie to Zack Snyder's oeuvre.
Yeah. But I like we talked about the edge, and I was thinking about it. I was like, yeah, then I was trying to remember, like, how does this movie end? I was like, oh yeah, she burns the forest down.
Yeah. That's a wild ending.
I don't think it's that wild. I was like, okay.
On paper, this is way past the edge, right? Way past the edge on paper. But I think if you watch the movie, it's like a very unearned moment of like, oh, this is how we're going to end.
It's very and then.
Yeah. Which also is now reminding me of Begonia, which Begonia has a very similar, like, I don't really care that this is the ending we're at right now. To you, this is like, whoa, we're going to blow people's minds when I do this. But I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like, the lead up to this doesn't earn it. So this thing, no matter how interesting it is on paper, doesn't work because my journey to this point doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there is a world in which this film works and ends the way that she burns the forest down in a way that feels narratively satisfying. But here it doesn't. And it's not about whether that's a good idea or not. Like, I think you can make most things work, but you got to make it work. And I don't think the movie makes it work.
It's also not so literally that she burns the forest down. She like walks into the woods naked after having driven into the woods with Jackson, and the forest kind of spontaneously burns around her, and it looks very digital. Like,
It looks bad. It looks bad.
So I don't buy the literalism. Like, it doesn't feel like it's actually happening in the plot definitively that she is burning down the forest.
It's just like, how can I end this with a fire? Because that's like something big, right?
And cinematic. Yeah.
Also, shout out Vulture for fully spoiling the ending of the movie before I saw it in their write-up.
Really?
Which did not have a spoiler marking that was about Lawrence and Ramsay's collaboration.
Well, they spoiled it in
damn.
the before the title drop, and then they show you the burning forest and everything. And that was a pretty nice moment for me. I was like, oh, okay, we're going into this. This could be good. And then there was a slow disappointment after that. I was like, yeah, I can fuck with this. But then, yeah, I kind of want to talk about this mommy horror stuff. It's actually really interesting to me.
I was just going to bring that up. Yeah. So as a definition of this subgenre, I'm going to pull from an essay by Kelsey E. Henry called Monstrous Motherhood. Really great essay, highly recommended. Originally published in 2015 in The Point magazine. Really good essay, and she's a very smart academic who it looks like currently is a visiting lecturer at Princeton. So shout out Kelsey E. Henry if you're listening, come on the pod, I guess, to talk about mommy horror.
Yeah.
So this line to help sort of define this subgenre that I want to cite is when Henry writes, quote, "Mommy horror raises every fear that fetal horror gestates. In this small but substantial genre, the mother is often vengeful, fragile, depressed, scared, hungry, horny, and or bored. She is too much and thus not enough. She is simply too many things to be a mother. Mothers are one thing, mothers, or at least this is the dream. Motherhood is mythically imagined as the goal, the promise, and the end game for women. Once a woman is a mother, she is no longer expected to dream herself beyond her scheduled vanishing point, that time and place where mother emerges and woman recedes." Later on, Good Mommy Horror asks, what if a mother could transform without punishment? These films can help us rethink that first moment when a child notices their mother as a person who is and is more than their mother, and see it not as a cataclysm, but simply a reintroduction, end quote. Die My Love hits some of these beats, the mother who is too much and sort of experiencing emotions in a very big way and struggling with the singularity of being a mother in the imagination of male characters and sort of the popular culture. But I don't feel that Die My Love successfully gives Grace as a character more than those emotions or gives her other layers or really prompts that question of what if a mother could transform without punishment? Things are just sort of happening in this movie. And yes, there is punishment that feels wrong, but there's something about that scene by scene nature that doesn't add up to support that question. What if a mother could transform without punishment?
Just to like zag to your zig. I'm just like, what if I don't think about the movie as mommy horror? Then what is it?
Mm.
You know, like if this is not the point, which it definitely like 90% seems like the point. Like even I would say the source material sounds like that's what it's trying to do. If not that, then what else could it be, right? Just try to meet the movie on its own terms.
Psychological drama.
Yeah, but the movie doesn't populate itself with much more beyond the sort of staples of this subgenre. The extra things that sort of piqued my interest were agreed with what you said earlier, Ben, the sissy SpaceX stuff, the relationship to
That's
the mother-in-law.
me.
That's Wilson.
Oops, sorry, Wilson. And also, we didn't mention that Nick Nolte is briefly in there as the father-in-law. I really like the scenes with him.
Yeah.
But he's gone in a flash in that movie. And it's a space where the movie could have provided specificity, surprise, and iterated on the standard beats of this maternal madness movie.
Mhm.
But it's partially like the maternal madness. Like when people make films like this, like partially they're trying to say, okay, it is to me a sort of response, not from me, but like from like a general culture's perspective that like when the baby comes, you will get it.
And also that you have to be totally devoted to the baby. And
Or like the
Mhm.
baby will help you understand it. And I've actually heard anecdotal evidence that this does happen to people. So I find it fascinating. But these are films in which you're saying, okay, what if when the baby comes, I don't get it, or I hate the baby, or I want to kill the baby, or like, like really crazy thoughts, right? That I'm sure arise in real people. And like, how do you humanize that? How do you make sense of that? Like, to me, that's what these films are like. Partially, it's sort of a allowance for a character to be like that they don't have to conform to the idea that the baby is going to help me understand what I'm supposed to do as a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And also that you can be more than just a mother once you become a mother. But I think ironically, by fixating on the sort of standard checklist of mommy horror in Die My Love, it doesn't allow Grace to be more than a mother, which winds up undermining the whole purpose of mommy horror, that women can be more than just mothers. It doesn't give her the space to be more than just mother, wife, daughter-in-law. Like, we don't know what she's writing. She's supposed to be a writer.
This is not really about the movie. I'm just thinking, is it good that we like naturally like respond to like what is not being a mother? It's working. And I'm like, oh, I don't know if that necessarily is the opposite. You know what I mean?
It's true, but there was not much else for us to cling on to except for the fact that I guess she writes.
We know
right?
she's a writer.
Yeah.
Because it's said that she's a writer. We don't see her, you know, it's only mentioned in dialogue.
Or like we don't see her try to write and fail to write as she's thinking of the baby, or like what that really means to her.
Or care about anything beyond the realm of the house and the people who kind of cross her path in the house.
I mean,
yeah.
She talks about how she only cares about the baby.
Mm-hmm.
In a way, like she's like, I'm just thinking about the baby all the time. Like she talks about that.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I mean, that's kind of interesting because like, how do you also have that, but also like feel crazy? You know, it's not that I'm trying to reject the baby. It's like almost like I'm so obsessed with the baby that's like I'm losing my mind. Right? That is an interesting angle to go down. Because partially I was like trying to like get on the wavelength of the film. I was like, okay, where are we trying to go here? And like feeling that maybe what I might be taking away from this, or like what the movie wants me to take away from this, is like, what if this was fine? Like, what if this crazy is okay? You know, because partially mommy horror is trying to say like, oh, there's nothing to, or maybe like the crazy doesn't have to be solved. Like maybe the crazy is normal. And I'm like thinking, oh, like how much of this is really out of line for her as a person or a mother? Or is it the world is crazy, you know?
Uh-huh. I wonder how mothers respond to this movie. Because I've heard a lot of love from people about Nightbitch last year, Marielle Heller's Nightbitch, which I didn't catch, unfortunately. And I wonder if it might be a similar thing with Die My Love, is that there's just not a lived experience for us guys. That there's nothing to really latch onto there. Who knows? We can't be mothers.
Yeah, fair.
Can I talk about Darren and Aronofsky's mother?
Yes.
And how much
Mother exclamation point.
yes, and how much more exciting of a mommy horror film that was, even though it is just as confusing.
Even I don't like that movie more.
You don't like it more than Die My Love, or you don't like it the same amount as Die My Love?
For me to compare them would be difficult, but if you look at what star I gave it, interesting.
Ooh, wait. No, I know.
Like, I tell you, it's 1.
Ooh.
But that's not objective. It's not objective because time changes me.
I think that movie's fucking wild. And I think if whatever way you read it, like I think if you take the mother mommy horror path down it, and the title sort of asks you to. It's fun.
They feel like the same movie, honestly.
Because J-Law's in both of them.
But even in that one, it's like she's in a house, and the house is like kind of falling apart. It's the same shit.
But it's like more horror oriented than this film
Surreal.
is. So I think that makes it more exciting of a watch for you.
Sure. Maybe.
I don't know. A star is a star.
It's maybe worth noting here that Lynne Ramsay specifically said that she wanted to focus on it being, as she called it, a bonkers, crazy love story rather than being about postpartum depression. I don't know that I get that from the final product.
And I don't think Robert Pattinson is in it enough for her to justify that.
Yeah, I kind of agree.
Because I mean, maybe this is my male brain thinking, but like for it to be a crazy bonkers love story, it would be like, you need to justify to me why Jackson's in love with her despite all of this.
And why she's in love with him despite all this.
Because he needs to bear the brunt of like a lot of like hostile behavior.
Well, he is also being hostile.
Yeah, but I think because we see so much more from her hostility for me like definitely feels like a little bit over, like, I don't know. He's like kind of just like talking a lot.
Well, he brings the dog. He burdens her and keeps her locked
true.
up and is completely unsympathetic. I think he is as hostile as she is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I think of this as a love story. Like, I think you have to buy into
I don't
them being
either.
like in love with each other. And I think that is a sort of given that you just have to like live with. And I don't think it does a good job of expressing that. And I think maybe that first prologue kind of scene is trying to do that when it does an intercutting of them like having sex on the ground. And like, I can't remember what I saw in that montage.
Is that the moment when they're sort of circling each other on all fours out in the field?
Before like the title card, they're just like fucking on the floor.
Right.
Yeah, of the house before they furnished it. And I think maybe that's trying to like express that they have like a very strong connection, blah, 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 whatever. I don't know. I think it's hard to talk about a movie when like it doesn't really seem to be about anything.
It doesn't populate its characters with a ton of specificity. It sort of trusts the actors to bring specific embodiment to it, which they do.
Yeah. It asks a lot of the actors, yeah. And I think they do deliver, but not enough. Not enough.
Yeah, I mean, I think the moment that maybe like, I was like, okay, maybe this is where the movie needs to grow out from. It's like when, near the end, when she has returned from like her time in the hospital, then she starts to show that she actually isn't that okay. And then Sissy Spacek's character is kind of like understanding. Like she has this moment in front of everyone else. And then Sissy Spacek's character is like, I get what's going on.
Yeah, that stuff is interesting.
And she's like, I have been crazy myself too. Like she's kind of like, I've been through exactly the same thing. And not like in a patronizing way, but rather like in fact, I'm probably kind of like, she's also kind of like crazy herself. The sleepwalking, the shotgun, and like the grief of losing a husband, like all that's happening to her as well. You know, so there's something there that's like interesting. It's like, how can somebody understand somebody like Grace who is going through something so hard to understand from an outsider's perspective and also like hard to accept in a way because of the chaos that it brings into your life.
And that's also why the potentially most interesting dynamic in the movie, for me, is between the father-in-law and Grace. And that's such a brief part of the movie, but their connection, I was like, oh, there's actual like chemistry here and potential for change here that I want to see explored. It could have done that with Sissy Spacek and Grace too, and it does a bit, but it's not nearly enough. It focuses, I think, too much on Grace and Jackson. And even then, as you say, Wilson, Jackson's not in the movie enough for it to really justify it being a love story.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I have much more to say. It's sort of is what it is.
Me too.
And is what it is not.
It is approaching that, I guess, most popular, most seen Lynne Ramsay on Letterboxd. So it's a star power. I guess that's the good thing about putting two really big names in your comeback feature.
I just hope it, as you say, Wilson, opens up opportunities for her to do a more self-directed thing where she gets to iterate and change as a director and grow in ways that I don't think this project allowed her to grow.
Yeah. And hopefully this is like sort of like the start of an ongoing collaboration with Martin Scorsese producing Lynne Ramsay works and like, I guess, being a champion of female-directed cinema around the world. And yeah, hopefully...
What's Joanna Hogg up to?
Yeah, also thinking about Joanna Hogg.
Oh my God, I'm looking at the cast list and I was like, wow, we didn't talk about Keith Stanfield at all because I was like, I didn't get that at all.
Man in the motorcycle helmet.
I was confused.
She's horny.
But they don't do anything. She has him cut his lip, right?
But I was like, is this a dream? And then like he shows up, I was like, oh, this guy's real. I thought he was like a motorcycle driver in her mind. I was confused.
We all got that motorcycle driver in our mind. Also, the character's name is Carl. I did not know that.
There's no way we would have known that.
Carl with a K? Carl from Jimmy Neutron?
What? I don't get that.
Grace, are you having a breakdown? Jimmy's mom.
Anyway.
Thank you for listening to Deep Cut. What a weird note to end on, my Carl Weezer impression.
That's okay. You get what you get.
Thank you for listening to Deep Cut. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
Okay. This is getting zero response. To help others discover the show, a great way to support us is to leave a review or comment on our episodes directly on Spotify. If you want to chat with us and other fans of Deep Cut, come join our Discord server where we talk about movies, TV, music, and share what we're up to. You can also reach out to us via email. For business inquiries, such as a partnership from M+, email us at hello@deepcutpod.com.
That's good.
We also have a Patreon if you'd like to support us with a monthly subscription. Thank you to all our Patreon supporters, and a very special thanks to our Patreon Deep Cut Pick supporters, Leah Lai and Nicholas Gao. Without you, we could not make the show. You can keep up with Deep Cut on Instagram, Letterboxd, and X at Deep Cut Pod. Click on the link in our description or go to deepcutpod.com to find links to everything we've mentioned here. Deep Cut is hosted and produced by us, Wilson Lai, Benjamin Yap, and Eli Sands. Our cover art is designed by Justina Yam, and our theme song is composed by myself.
I'm Wilson.
I'm Ben.
I'm Eli. Take care, and we're looking forward to talking about more movies with you next time.